Okay, this video is to give you a quick summary of the template that I just sent you. And this is the oral board template. It's here to help you for your either promotional test, or if you're just starting at the firefighter level, it can be beneficial for that also. A couple things about it I prefer to keep it as a Google Doc, a Google document. So if by chance you cannot open the attachment, send me an email back and we can send it to you in Word also. Occasionally people have problems with Google Documents, and there can occasionally be a kind of some issues opening it. So if you can't see it, let me know and I can change it to Word real easy. That being said, you should be able to open the document. When you open it, the name of it is Win the Game. The title, this section is about oral boards and winning the game of oral boards. So I'm going to show you how to use this template so you have an idea of how to fill this out. This first page is really important content, and it's the majority of what you need to know to win the game and be successful at oral boards. There's three categories that you really have to know. You have to know yourself, you have to know the position, you have to know yourself, you have to know the position, and you have to know the department. Underneath each of these, there's a little bit more detail in terms of what you can fill out. So under yourself, you should know your education, you should know your training, you should know your experience. Under position, you should know the essential duties, the responsibilities, the roles, and the skills required. These are just some bullet points under position, so there could be some other things that you should know. Some good reference points is you should look at the job description that you have within your policy. You should ask people who have the position, who are successful in the position, and find out as much as possible as what the position entitles and what it is to be successful at that position. And then the third piece here is knowing the department. You want to know as much as possible about the department, its mission, its vision, its values, its current events, its needs, its challenges, its history. So the way this is designed is that save a copy of this, so when you get this, go ahead and hit File up here. You can, if you're in Google Documents, you would say make a copy, and then save it. Change the title and save it to whatever you want. This is your document to use. So save a copy and then just go in here and start typing away. So you just go in here and you just start typing. I don't have it on the edit mode right now, but you can go in, you can type on this document and use it to fill all this out. This is going to be your war map going into your oral board. So again, the first page is know yourself, know the position, and know the department. By the time the oral board comes around, this should be several page document where you just have tons and tons of content that you're constantly typing and working out and refining, so that when it comes time for the oral board, you have done the work and you're ready to give a really clean, smooth, confident presentation. This next piece, the next page, is what I call is the core 5 questions. These are the core 5 questions that I see as the core of any oral board I've ever sat on, any oral board I've ever been through. And these show up, it's rare that they're going to come off and blatantly just ask you these questions flat out, but all the other questions in some form or another are trying to figure out what these questions are. So fundamentals, all this page is really focusing on the basic fundamentals that you need to know. And if you are super confident in your answers to all these questions, these 5 questions, then you should be prepared to handle just about any question that comes at you. There are some other questions that will come up, but in terms of the fundamentals, you really need to have a good answer to why do you want the position, what have you done to prepare for the position, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and why are you the best. A lot of this comes right back in up here, is that you know yourself. This is knowing yourself and being able to share stories and portray that to the oral board. You also need to know the position and the department. And this comes into here. All 3 of these should be tied. They interconnect with these 5 questions here. So know those and have really good, clean answers. Also have good stories that go with these answers. At least one. For your strengths, you should have at least one, preferably about 3 of them that you can use. Your weakness, you should have at least one, and have a weakness that can then be turned into a strength. And then why are you the best is you should be able to say why you are the best for the position. And all these answers may sound redundant, but all these answers should come in to incorporate all this stuff into those answers. Moving on to the next page, we have metaphors. There's a couple metaphors I'm going to give you that are beneficial towards towards doing well at the oral board. One of them is a baseball diamond, and this one's specific towards answering the questions. So we'll go back up here is what are your strengths? So in some form or another, they'll say there'll be an opportunity to share what your strengths are. Again, it's rare that they're just going to flat out ask you, but in some form or another, you want to portray what it is that you're strong at. So the baseball diamond, how it works is, number one, you have to answer the question. Number two, and so there's a picture with this, is you picture a baseball diamond. To get to first base, you have to answer the question. To get to second base, you have to give a personal example or a personal story that relates to the question. Number three is you have to tie all this into the position. And number four is you have to relate this to the department. So I'll give you a real basic example is, say, what are your strengths? And you would say, part one, my strength is that I'm really strong. Part two, I'm really strong because I can bench press a lot of weight and I used to play football. Part three, I know that being a good engineer requires good physical strength, or being a firefighter requires good physical strength, and my strength will greatly benefit my position as a firefighter. Part four, being strong is an important quality of this fire department, and being strong, I'll uphold a good public image, and I will help to keep my crew fit and healthy and uphold the mission. I work here in Sedona, so it's safe, friendly, dedicated. So I'll uphold the mission of being safe, friendly, dedicated. Again, my strength is that I'm strong. So answer the question, first base. Second base, give a personal example, personal story. Third is relate it to the position, and fourth, relate it to the department. It doesn't hurt to, again, come back up here and reiterate that you just answered the question. So that's a really good thing to practice. So with all of these, going back up here to all of your core 5 questions, I recommend that you come up with answers that run the bases so that you can hit a home run. You don't want to do this on every single question. It's not going to apply to every single question, but there's a lot of questions that this is a really great way to answer. So come up with some of those answers to these core 5 questions. Then we have our bag of gold metaphor. The bag of gold is, the metaphor is that you have to go in and you have to buy the position. Now your bag of gold comes up here, that it's all your training, your education, your training, your experience. Is you have this whole bag of gold of your education, your training, your experience. Also, this stuff can come into it in terms of how it applies to the position and how it applies to the department. But everybody brings a unique skill set and a unique diversity that makes them potentially the best candidate for the position. So all these things are your golden nuggets. So your golden nuggets are all these things that make you unique and make you stand out in this process. So you want to have those really clear, you want to have them written down, and you want to have them memorized so that when you go into the oral board, you're able to metaphorically pay for the position, and you can buy the position with your golden nuggets. The goal is to leave the oral board with an empty bag. You walk in with a full bag of gold and you walk out with that bag completely empty. Doesn't always happen that way, but metaphorically, what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to walk out of the oral board with still your bag of gold still full. Because you want to go in and you want to give them as many of these gold nuggets as possible as to why you're the best for this position. That's the bag of gold. And the other metaphor, it's not so much a metaphor, but there's a saying of a 60-second sales summary. So again, this comes back up to the top. And this is your education, your training, your experience under self. And you want to have a quick 1-minute summary as to why you're the best for the position, you're the best for the department, and tie it all together. So it's helpful to have, another way of saying this is is to have a really good closing statement. So there's a good chance at the end of an oral board, it happens quite a bit, that you get to the end and they say, is there anything else you want to add? And when it comes to that point, you say, yes, there is, and be able to give everything that you have not covered so far. You want to give that bag of gold, that you don't leave any nuggets on the table. And the 60-second sales summary is a good way to just have everything condensed into a 1-minute summary. Here's the code. And this code helps a lot with oral board questions. It also helps a lot with life in general. But the code is to be real, focus on the facts. Be honest. Don't try to cover anything up. Be real with where you are. And focus on facts. So knowing the facts, what are the facts of yourself, of the position of the department? So you need to know the facts, you need to get raw, and you have to express feelings. If all you do is go in and say a bunch of facts without any feelings, it's going to be a very flat oral board, and those don't go over well. So you want to be able to portray a lot of emotion, and that's where personal stories help a lot, is that you portray really good emotion behind your facts. And then stay relevant, so that part is focus. So everything has to be relevant towards why you're the best for the position, why you're the best prepared, and that you are the best person for that job. So everything has to stay relevant towards that oral board and towards the questions. And finally, the results is that there's a saying is you don't get what you want in life, you get what you're ruthlessly committed to having. So when you're committed to results, then you will bear the fruit. But if you don't bear the fruit, then you haven't done the work and you're not going to show the results. So you don't want to come in, you want to produce results for the oral board and not give them a bunch of reasons as to why you don't have the results in your life or why you would fail to produce the results that are required of the position. So results versus reasons. Don't come in and give a bunch of excuses in your life or give excuses about anything. Give them the results they're looking for. So another way to say this is that you take your facts, that should be your facts, would all be your stuff up here, and then you add the feelings. So you incorporate feelings and really rehearse this. This is almost like a rehearsal for some type of audition, is that you want to express emotion. You want to be excited to be there. It's okay to be nervous. Enthusiasm is probably the best emotion you can portray to the oral board. But as you're telling stories, you can go back to a story of a painful experience in your life and how that turned into the positive. So it doesn't hurt to go back and share something that's painful that you might get emotional over. Share something that you're excited about. Share something that could be sad. You could share a time when you got angry. So the more emotion that you can express, the more that you're going to engage your audience. And so think of it as an audition for a play, and you really want to engage your audience, and your audience is the people doing your oral board. And then so your facts times your feelings plus the focus. You have to stay focused on the result and on the outcome, and ultimately that's going to produce the fruit. So the Bible says a tree is known by its fruit. So you need to focus on producing the results that you have already produced in your life and the results that you're going to produce in the future. So that can be helpful for just for understanding how to answer the questions. Some common types of questions. So a big part of this thing is focusing on fundamentals, but there are some other questions you want to be aware of. There's types of questions you might want to look up. Is be prepared for character questions so that they know that you have good integrity. They know that you have a mindset that's going to benefit the team and benefit the organization. There can be position-specific events, so they might ask you questions to make sure that you know what the job entails. They might even throw you into a theoretical situation to where you're in the position and you have to make some decisions. So that's where you come back up here, know the department, know the position, and know yourself. and you'll be able to answer those well. Conflict management is you want to have an example of when you've faced conflict and been successful with producing a good outcome as a result. And then personnel management is how you handle people in terms of working with a team. There can be others also, so I encourage you to look up at a variety of questions, but not to get too broad with your preparation. So you want to have a good idea and be prepared for these types of questions. Go over a lot of them, but again, you really want to have the fundamentals down. Here is keywords and phrases. So every position has a certain language that goes with it. Everything has a language, and so you want to know what that language is so that you can play the game and you can win the game. If you think of any type, every sport that's out there has its own set of language and it has its own set of rules. This applies the same towards being successful and winning the game of an oral board. You have to know the language of the position. So if you're testing for the position of engineer, there's a certain language that goes with that. You should know the language of the engine. You should know accountability. You should know chain of command. You should know how the pump works. You should know the different parts of the engine. You should know your apparatus. And so there, informal leadership is another keyword. So every position has these keywords and phrases that trigger that you know what the fuck you're talking about. So make sure that you have these keywords and phrases and make a list and just work them into your answer. So get these keywords and phrases and work them in as you're given the baseball diamond answers. Make sure that you're hitting those phrases, those words and those phrases. And then finally, if you have the opportunity to know who your evaluators will be, do your homework to find out as much as possible about these evaluators. We're all human, and so everybody in there is going to try to be non-biased. But we are all human, and we're all, you can't really overcome that human factor. So you definitely want to know their names so you can go in and you can address them by name. You want to know their rank so you know their rank. It's helpful to know their experience in their career and also to know what type of lifestyle they have. So something you want to do here is that if there's someone that's on the oral board that has a lot of, say does an extensive amount of wildland fire, and wildland fire is something that you're really into, then that might be something you'd want to talk a little bit more about because it's going to more engage that person. Or if you don't have the experience, that could then be a weakness that you acknowledge and realize that you have to overcome. And then lifestyle. So another example is if you have someone in there that has 6 kids and has been married for 20 years, you might want to emphasize that you are either currently married and have kids, or you have a desire to be married and have kids, if that resonates with you. I mean, you don't want to be fake here, but you just want to know who your audience is and realize that they're going to be biased towards their own perspective, their own worldview, or the things that they value most. So that's it. I hope that it's helpful. Quick summary. So this here is the 3 areas you really want to fill out. This template is yours to use. Fill this out. Rehearse these core 5 questions and be super dialed on these answers for these. Know this metaphor and practice using it. Bag of gold's helpful. Sales summary can be helpful. The code, so your facts and your times your feelings plus focus and how you produce the fruit and how you will produce the fruit. This is helpful. The code is helpful towards your preparation also. This is something that you can live by and apply to your life, not just answering oral board questions. So how it can apply towards your preparation is don't be real with where you're at currently and how prepared you are. Be honest, face the truth of where you're at, harness the feelings that are going to get you to where you want to be. Stay relevant towards the position, stay focused, and then focused on results. If you go through this and you don't do that well at the oral board, then don't make up some bullshit excuse. Take ownership of that. realize that's not the result you want, and make the changes necessary. If you go through it and you're totally successful, then take ownership of that. So acknowledge yourself, your success, and embrace those results. Types of questions, some other questions to be aware of, keywords and phrases, and then if you get the chance to know your evaluators, it's helpful. So that's it. Hope this is helpful, and we'll be in touch. Good luck.